First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
For over a week, it's been hot and dry in Gainesville, but that all changed today. Good evening. It's Tuesday, June 23rd. I'm Marie Ettinger.
And I'm Samantha Sosa. Thank you for joining us. Conditions are much calmer now in north central Florida, but UF forecaster Rebecca Kopelman says storms may develop this evening. Rebecca?
Well, right now, most areas, as you mentioned, have quieted down here in North Florida. Just some light rainfall in portions of Gainesville and Ocala that got hit hard earlier on today, and you can see that in this radar loop. Some severe warnings also moved through the area. These storms produced a lot of rainfall and even some strong winds, as well as we had some reports of hail. Right now, though, still an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning for portions of St. Johns, Putnam, and Flagler County. These cells continuing to push off to the east near I-95, but they're still producing some frequent lightning and some heavy rainfall. Aerial flood advisories are still in effect for portions of Marion County. One just expired for Alachua County and Gainesville, but potentially 2 inches of rain at the airport, and possibly even higher locally amounts, 3 inches there just to the north of town, 2 inches down in northern Marion County. And these rainfall totals did pile up, and Gainesville finally got hit today after several days of no rainfall. Over 2.5 inches at the University of Florida. Millhopper 1.38, but the Gainesville Regional Airport only a 6/10 of an inch of rain fell. There could, though, be some redevelopment in the overnight hours after 9 o'clock, possibly some rainfall moving through, and that could contain some more lightning and some strong thunderstorms. I'll track more of that in my main weather forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. One Newberry City Commissioner is leading the movement to split Alachua County in half, separating the western portion.
He and others say they don't get representation they deserve from county commissioners. Jonathan Munoz joins us now in the studio. Jonathan, you spoke with that city commissioner today. What did he say?
Well, he said that a lot of residents in several small towns are feeling overlooked. And that's leading him to push for splitting from Alachua County to create Springs County.
About time that we have a more serious discussion and really not necessarily figure out whether or not we should do this. I think we're kind of at the point now where we need to figure out how to actually redraw these county lines.
Newberry City Commissioner Tim Martin wants to create a new county because he says the county commission doesn't pay attention to much of the western part of Alachua County. The envisioned county would include the cities of Alachua, Archer, High Springs, and Newberry, and would create Florida's 68th county. County board members attended a joint meeting last night between the county and Newberry where the issue was discussed. And some Newberry residents who were present at the meeting agree that the county board doesn't represent them.
The county commission is very Gainesville-centric, and the smaller municipalities don't feel like they get the representation that they deserve. And also the way the county commission's set up, where it's not single-member districts, you really don't have a representative in your area who's concerned about what's going on where you live.
The new envisioned county line would run north to south of Alachua County along 34th Street, possibly taking the western half of Gainesville with it.
34th Street just seems to be a good natural barrier because it runs all the way through the county and you're not kind of going in between property lines and things like that. It's very definitive.
But not final. There is room for compromise.
No, I'd love to see reconciliation. If we can get to that point, that would be great. If the Board of County Commissioners wants to come to us and say, hey, here are the things that we understand we're having issues with, here is what we propose as possible solutions, we're all ears.
Also, McKnight says if the county works towards single-member districts, there might be a compromise because most of the residents' concerns would be resolved.
Thanks, Jonathan. A repaving project is underway on Southwest 34th Street. Multiple lanes on 34th will be closed over the weekend between Archer Road and Northwest 5th Avenue. Crews will be working on repaving the road as part of an overall improvement project. Future plans include extending several turn lanes and pedestrian safety improvements. The entire project is expected to cost $2.6 million and is expected to be completed before the end of the year.
And Rick Scott signed the new state budget into law today, not without a few vetoes, though. The $78 billion budget was passed by the legislature last week during the special session. Scott vetoed more than $14 million in funding for North Central Florida, including more than $9 million for UF, $2 million for Santa Fe College, and $250,000 for the historic Ma Barker House in Marion County.
With more than 1.5 million veterans in Florida, access to care is critical, especially for those veterans with disabilities. As WUFT's Jacob Schroll reports, veterans in Marion County are fighting to get the care they say they deserve.
They had me listed as dead, but I wasn't dead. I just couldn't tell them who it was.
Former Chief Petty Officer James Phillips has lived in Marion County ever since he left the Navy. But while he may not seem disabled, for the past 70 years, he's been living with invisible scars.
Well, when the shooting stops, it doesn't stop for me. You know, I done some things that gruesome things.
And Phillips isn't alone. The Department of Veterans Affairs reports that anywhere from 10 to 20% of veterans returning from combat since Vietnam have post-traumatic stress disorder. Marion County has a high veteran population. Phillips is one of almost 40,000 veterans residing here. Veterans come out to the Marion County Memorial Park to help remember those who have died serving our nation. But those who have come back alive are asking for help from the government, just as they have helped to serve our country. And just last year, Marion County was in the running for a new state-run veterans nursing home. Marion County came in second to Port St. Lucie, but they are still hopeful that they'll get their own nursing home soon enough.
There's a possibility of at least one or possibly two veterans nursing homes being funded this year.
The home would not only serve Marion County, but also surrounding counties as well, like Alachua and Citrus counties. And if granted, the new nursing home will not only house retired veterans, but could also help the younger ones as well.
Additionally, the other side of the coin is it will provide a lot of jobs, hopefully for veterans as well, and an economic boost to the county.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that nationwide there are more than 500,000 unemployed veterans. 37% of those are ages 25 to 44. Additionally, Marion County has an overall unemployment rate of 7.1%. With this in mind and the aging population of veterans, many believe that this home is more of a necessity than a desire.
I think when you look at the number of baby boomers that are headed this way over the next 20 years to the Sun Belt, it's important to start preparing now as we see this veteran population swell.
And with the next closest veterans nursing home 77 miles away in Daytona Beach, 91-year-old Phillips is hoping the state will make a decision sometime soon.
Maybe I'm a little selfish, I don't know. But when you endured 3-4 years of combat and didn't know if you was going to be here the next heartbeat or not, I mean, you volunteered your life.
Jacob Schroll, WUFT News.
The state currently has 6 veteran nursing homes and is set to start building the 7th in Port St. Lucie. That home is estimated to cost about $30 million.
And in Broward County, a man who admitted to being high on flakka told deputies he broke into several apartments because he thought he was being chased by a secret agency. One of the residents of the apartments say his mother found the man trying to open her sliding glass door on her patio. She was screaming and trying to hold it shut. Police say the same man tried to break into several other apartments. Officials say suspect Anthony Demps admitted to having smoked the synthetic drug flakka before the ordeal.
And after getting upset with the service at a post office, Palm Beach authorities say a 90-year-old man threatened workers with a gun. They say he pointed a gun at an employee, telling him he would blow his head off. The suspect was taken into custody and went to West Boca Medical Center for evaluation. After his release, he was booked into the Palm Beach County Jail. He's been charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
And in Polk County, sheriff's deputies busted a rooster fighting compound after getting a tip from a pizza guy. The delivery driver tipped off the sheriff's office after delivering a pizza during the fight. Deputies then went to the property where they could see a rooster fighting ring through an open barn door. Officials say they confiscated 123 roosters and chickens from the compound and arrested 3 people.
Well, WUFT News First at 5 is just getting started. Coming up, we'll bring you an update on the manhunt in New York for 2 escaped prisoners. More on that after the break.
Plus, the president's got some good news from the Senate on his trade agenda. Those stories and more in 90 seconds. We'll be right back.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. The discovery of DNA linked to those escaped prisoners in upstate New York has intensified efforts to find the two men who've been on the run now for 18 days. The DNA of escaped murderers David Sweat and Richard Matt was found inside a mountain cabin about 20 miles from the prison. Meanwhile, the husband of the woman accused of helping the inmate says he thinks he would have been killed had his wife followed through.
Absolutely, 100%.
And if she had gone in that car without you?
She would have been dead within half an hour, I figure. They were going to kill her, and all they wanted was that vehicle.
He says his wife denies a sexual relationship with either inmate. She remains in custody while they remain on the run. And since it's Tuesday, that means we turn our eyes to the world of politics.
That's right, and that means our very own Danny Mathio joins us now in the studio. Danny, what's new in the world of politics?
Well, ladies, it appears that the Senate has finally advanced Obama's trade bill, but first let's take a look on the impending SCOTUS decision on Obamacare. For the second time in the last 3 years, the end of June will bring a Supreme Court decision on the Affordable Care Act. This time, the decision affects health care for millions of Americans in 34 states. President Obama's signature law is under scrutiny in a case called King versus Burwell. At the core are federally funded subsidies that help millions of Americans afford monthly premiums for health insurance. The challenge comes down to 4 words in the law, which say financial subsidies are available to Americans through exchanges, quote, established by the state. Plaintiffs in the case argue that state refers to the 16 states that have set up their own health insurance exchanges. The Obama administration says the intent was obviously to provide subsidies in all U.S. states, even the 34 that rely on the federal government to facilitate the insurance exchanges.
This should be an easy case. Frankly, it probably shouldn't even been taken up.
A ruling against the Obama administration could trigger two things. The loss of those subsidies would make insurance cost prohibitive for millions of Americans in the affected states. And if those Americans drop out of the insurance marketplace and shrink the pool, insurers may seek to boost premiums. President Obama has said there is no plan B from the administration, despite the numerous failed attempts to repeal the law. House Republicans have been working towards a short-term legislative fix to stem potential political backlash. But in today's contentious Congress, it all could take some time. Today was a big win for President Obama's trade agenda. By the slimmest of margins, the Senate voted to advance the bill to give the president a fast-track approval of large trade bills. That means such bills cannot be changed by Congress prior to a vote. A final Senate vote on fast track could happen very soon. If that's approved, it will go to the president's desk for his signature. Meanwhile, the House will consider a companion bill later this week that provides assistance to workers who will lose their job because of such trade deals. A recent hack attack on a government website may have compromised more personal information than previously thought. U.S. officials briefed on the investigation say 18 million people were affected by the cyber breach, more than 4 times the number that has been publicly acknowledged. The Office of Personnel Management has admitted that data was accessed more than 4 million current and prospective federal employees. FBI Director James Comey used the 18 million estimate in a closed-door briefing with senators, according to a source who adds that the number of people affected could grow. Investigators suspect the Chinese government is behind the breach, which they describe as the worst ever against the U.S. government. Tomorrow, the government will announce a shift in its hostage policy. According to a senior administration officials, families of hostages captured overseas will no longer be threatened with criminal prosecution if they attempt to pay ransom. The parents of American journalist James Foley, who was beheaded by ISIS in 2014, say they were threatened if they attempted to pay. The government's policy of making no concessions to hostage takers will remain unchanged. The process has relied heavily on the input of former hostages and their families. The administration will also consulted with 5 intermediaries, 3 international organizations, 2 hostage experts, and 4 foreign countries.
Thank you, Danny. Well, I unfortunately did not think to bring an umbrella to work today.
Well, you may want to remember to bring them tomorrow. Rebecca, is this stormy weather going to continue through the rest of the week?
Yeah, you might want to remember those umbrellas each and every day for the rest of this work week, because I am tracking elevated rain chances, and evidence of that was today, and strong storms already moved through. Another possibility of rainfall overnight. I'll track that for you after the break. Heavy rain, hail, and strong thunderstorms. Nothing really out of the ordinary, just Another summer day here in North Florida. Welcome back. I'm UF forecaster Rebecca Kopelman. Unfortunately, it may not be over because I am tracking the possibility of some redevelopment later on this evening. But right now, we're starting to calm down, especially compared to what this radar looked like earlier today, and it was lighting up, although right now it does look blank. But there's some light rainfall, and that's marking where those strong storms moved through earlier. And right now there is still a severe thunderstorm warning for St. Johns County over St. Augustine. A strong cell still producing some heavy rainfall, and some frequent lightning could also be producing some strong winds as well. And it's going to stay near the I-95 corridor. But for now, most areas are dry, but that could be changing soon. Today, though, there was a lot of rainfall in some spots. Over the University of Florida, 2.5 inches of rain. The Ocala International Airport, 2 inches. This all happened in a short period of time, too, in just about an hour's time. But check out the Gainesville Regional Airport. They lucked out. Only 0.06 of an inch of rain fell there with that storm. They were missed for today. But over the University of Florida, it was a different story. Right around when that storm was moving through, here's the time lapse, and we hit 96 degrees on campus, help us to destabilize, and now we're actually stable, so that may help to quelch any redevelopment. Right now, though, the Gulf sea breeze continuing to interact with the Atlantic sea breeze near I-95. That's where the severe warnings are, but I'm watching this area of disturbed weather in southern Georgia that may move down south and help to trigger some additional activity later on tonight. So we may not be out of the woods just yet. For this evening, mainly after the 9 o'clock hours, when there could be some more showers and storms stretching from Jacksonville down to Cedar Key, could even be some stronger thunderstorms similar to what occurred last night. But by midnight, most areas should be dry and just a cloudy evening up ahead. Then temperatures will drop to the low 70s across North Florida, and on Wednesday afternoon, we'll have another day of slightly cooler weather, if you can really call it that. Well, temperatures back to near average for this time of year. Only 93 degrees in Gainesville, 91 in Ocala, 91 in Lake City. That's due to a very similar pattern that will unfold Wednesday afternoon with the showers and storms. Gulf sea breeze kicking off around 1 o'clock. Could be a thunderstorm similar to how it was today near I-75. That continues to push to the east and will possibly interact with the Atlantic sea breeze around 5 o'clock. East of I-75, where there could be a few strong storms once again, and that will fall apart, but there could once again be some redevelopment in the overnight hours. This has been a trend over the past couple of days. But the good thing that comes out of this is some lower temperatures and some lower heat indices. We may have another triple-digit day on Wednesday and Thursday, but then as we head into the weekend, some cooler temperatures, possibly even below the 90-degree mark on Sunday afternoon due to the abundance of moisture overhead. An approaching front is going to help to increase winds out of the south and west, bring in some Gulf moisture overhead for Thursday and on Friday afternoons. And that's going to keep rain chances elevated all the way through this weekend. So you can see on my 6-day forecast, rain chances stay up. They drop slightly on Saturday, but we get a cool off with our temperatures. Back to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Well, Gator baseball was bounced from the College World Series over the weekend, but the show must go on.
The championship series began last night. Our Joel Sebastianelli has more.
Vanderbilt carries the flag for the SEC now. They rematch against Virginia for the second year in a row. Game 1 of the best of 3 is in the books. We'll have highlights from Omaha coming up. Stick around for sports. Welcome back. I'm Joel Sebastianelli. The college baseball season culminates with the College World Series Championship Series. For top 10 MLB draft picks Dansby Swanson and Carson Fulmer, it's also the end of their careers for now. Swanson went number 1 of the Diamondbacks, Fulmer at 8 to the White Sox. Both have bright futures ahead of them, but as Vanderbilt takes to the diamond this week against Virginia, they still have some business to finish in college. Back-to-back national championships. Omaha, the site for the best of 3 rematch of last year's championship, Carson Fulmer is in the zone. 8 strikeouts and in 7 2/3 scoreless innings. Both teams scoreless through 5, but no longer. Freshman Will Toffee in the bottom of the 6th with 2 men on, 2 men off. His RBI double puts Vandy up 2-0, and they weren't done yet. Bottom 7, Dansby Swanson. Last year's most outstanding player at the College World Series is outstanding yet again. 2 hits in this game, and this RBI right here. Commodores cruise 5-1. Game 2 is tonight at 8. Harvey Dent, Two-Face. said that you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. As far as batsmen go, Pete Rose is one of the greatest ever. His 4,256 career hits is the most ever. So are his 3,562 games. That stuff was a big deal when he played from 1963 to 1986, but Charlie Hustle's performance is outweighed in the current era for his penchant for telling lies. Rose gambled on baseball as the manager of the Cincinnati Reds and denied it for 15 years. He has maintained until this day that he never bet as a player. New information indicates otherwise. ESPN's Outside the Lines obtained documents that show Rose bet on baseball not only as Reds manager, but as a Reds player too in the 1980s. This evidence comes from a notebook seized from the home of one of Rose's associates, and it remained under court-ordered seal for 26 years for a matter unrelated. Rose was banned from Major League Baseball in 1989. By extension, he is also ineligible for the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is a proven rule breaker. The same can't be said for Tom Brady yet, although that didn't stop the NFL from handing down a 4-game suspension for his role in Deflategate. If you ask Tom Brady and his lawyer Jeffrey Kessler, the investigation into underinflated Patriots footballs is a bunch of hot air. That's why they're in New York today with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. Brady arrived at the league's Park Avenue offices around 9 o'clock this morning to appeal his suspension. The basis for the appeal is that the punishment is inconsistent with prior discipline, and the suspension was based on the Wells report, which Brady and his team believe has insufficient evidence. The appeal could continue through Thursday, and it may even take weeks just for an official ruling. When the Women's World Cup draw was announced, experts said the United States was stuck in the so-called group of death. Their bark was worse than the group's actual bite. U.S. never lost and won the group, advancing on to the round of 16 where they faced Colombia last night. After a scoreless first half, Alex Morgan in all alone. She gets taken out by the Colombian keeper. For that, the keeper gets kicked out by the Karma Police. Wrong type of football, you can't do that here. So third stringer, Stephanie Castano comes in, and a few minutes later, Morgan gets her revenge. Carly Lloyd scored later in the half. Stars and Stripes go on to win 2-0. One last look at the weather forecast is coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. The words rock concert took on a whole new meaning in Norway this past weekend. Trolltunga, which means tongue of the troll, is a stone formation that juts horizontally from the mountains of Norway nearly 3,000 feet above the Ringadal Dam. This weekend, the famous Norwegian jazz metal band Shining held a concert on Trolltunga. Spectators got a concert and a natural experience out of the extraordinary surroundings. And before we go, one last check on the weather.
Here's Rebecca.
Right now, things are calm in Gainesville and Ocala, just some light rainfall, but still some strong storms near I-95. Still tracking the possibility, though, of some redevelopment later on this evening. However, because of that light rain, we may be stable enough that we really just get a few showers up until about the 10 o'clock hour. Then that starts to fade away, or it may not really happen at all, but we could still have a few cells. We'll track for you at ufweather.org. Rain chances stay elevated, and they drop off just slightly on Saturday. Back to you.
And thank you at home for watching WUFT News First at 5. We'll see you again tomorrow, but WUFT is always on at WUFT.org.
Here on WUFT TV, BBC World News is up next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7. Good night.